Hello everybody, today I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time but haven't had the time to dedicate to it. Basically what this series is going to be is everything from when you first get into the sport of traditional archery all the way till you're shooting proficiently, or at least that's the idea. With that said, today's video is going to be the first video in the series, your initial startup into the sport. Everything from the different types of bows, your different options, your arrows, and the miscellaneous that goes along with your first initial purchase, you can call it, to start shooting a traditional bow. So to start, I figured we would just go over the different types of bows and what they offer. So right here in front of me, I have a one-piece recurve. As you can see, the whole bow is in one piece. The limbs are not separated from the riser. A recurve usually gives you a bit more performance, however it's not usually as forgiving as a longbow, which I'll cover in a moment. But it does have these recurved limbs, which basically will shoot an arrow a little faster and give you more performance, and that's the idea behind it. And you can tell it's a recurve because the string will touch the belly of the bow, which is the side that'll be facing you when you are shooting it prior to the string nocks. So your next option is a longbow, which this is a one-piece longbow, which you can tell in the same way the limbs are the same piece as the riser. And you can tell it's a longbow because the string does not touch the belly of the bow prior to the string nocks. Now a longbow, unlike a recurve, is typically much longer. This is a kid's longbow, unfortunately. It's my only example I have. But typically longbows range from 58 inches up to 70 plus, and a recurve is more in the anywhere from 54 really all the way up into 66 inches, depending on the style of recurve you go with. But a longbow typically is a bit more forgiving than a recurve is. So some people prefer them over a recurve, but ultimately it's personal choice. Your third option goes along with both recurves and longbows. This is going to be a recurve that I have in front of me, but basically what it is it is a takedown traditional bow. This one is a three-piece, so the limbs come off of the riser right here with these limb bolts. Basically you would unstring it, unscrew them, and then the limbs would come off. And the other option there is a two-piece takedown. And what that is it's much similar to a one-piece as far as overall look and design, but here in the riser it separates somehow, whether it's a bowl bolt, which literally the riser unscrews and the two halves come apart, or it's a socket system, and basically you have a female and a male end of the bow. And the advantage of a takedown, there's a couple of them. Just in general, takedowns can obviously be traveled with much easier because they can be a 30-inch in length once you take them down versus a traditional bow, which is usually 58 plus. When you go to the three-piece takedown system, there's a lot of advantages, especially when you're first starting out. For instance, the Misc Sage is a fairly affordable bow to start out with. It's around $140. And what you can do is you can buy limbs for it versus having to buy the whole bow again for significantly cheaper. Alright, so now that we've covered different types of bows in a very quick aspect, there's a lot of information on the different types of bows out there. The next thing you should be aware of when choosing your bow is draw weight. If you're the compound archer coming over to shoot a traditional bow, 45 pounds really shouldn't be an issue for you. However, if you are getting into the sport brand new, never shot a bow before, I would not go above 35. If you are a larger human, 40 pounds maybe, but I would not suggest going over 35 pounds because you're using new muscle groups and it's just going to be really strange for you as a whole. Along the lines with draw weight comes draw length. It's not overwhelmingly crucial to know when you first start into the sport, but it's a good idea to have a ballpark area of where you might be. The reason why is draw length directly affects draw weight. So when you order a bow, for instance the Samick Sage, when it lists that weight on the website or wherever you're ordering it from, that is at 28 inches of draw length. So what that means basically is when you pull back 28 inches on that bow, it'll be at that weight. For instance, 30 at 28, so it'll be 30 pounds at a 28 inch draw length. So where that comes into play is if you have a 27 inch draw length, for instance, a bow typically gains or loses 2 to 3 pounds per inch. So if you have a 27 inch draw length and you're ordering a 30 pound bow at 28, you're only ordering a 28 to 27 pound bow. Vice versa, if you have a 29 inch draw, you're ordering a 32 to 33 pound bow. So to figure out your draw length, especially if you've never shot before, is to take your height in inches and divide it by 2.5. And that'll get you into a ballpark number. If you shoot a compound previously, what you want to do is basically take an inch or two, most likely, off of your compound draw, because you pull back significantly farther most of the time. So now that we have the bow settled, hopefully, the next key aspect of shooting a bow, obviously, is your arrow. On to arrows. You have a couple options. This is a wood arrow, for instance. I'll just go over the parts real quick. You have your point. They come in, broadheads, field points, blunts. There's a whole bunch of different types of points. When you're first starting, you're just going to want to get some field points. You have your shaft, obviously. Then usually there's some kind of cresting, which is, this one only has 2 little paint strips, but usually it's on the back half of the arrow. And then shooting traditional, usually you shoot off the shelf, so you're going to have feathers because they'll fold as it goes over the shelf. However, some people do shoot an elevated rest, which does allow you to shoot vanes. So your first option is going to be a wood arrow, like this one, usually made out of Port Orford cedar or Douglas fir. Those are 2 different types. Probably not the best option for somebody getting into the sport just because of durability, but they'll work just as good as any other arrow. The next option you have is aluminum, and by far is the best option in my opinion for somebody just getting into the sport. So the reason I think an aluminum is the best is because it's more durable than a wood arrow in the aspect. Usually if you hit something hard it may bend, but you can usually straighten it out and keep shooting it versus it breaking. And then also the price is there versus a wood or carbon. Usually you can pick up a dozen shafts for around 60 bucks. Now the third option, I don't have one in my basement to show you, but is a carbon arrow, which is by far the most durable and the most common in today's world. And carbons are great once you have been in the sport for a while and you're pretty confident. Basically the only reason I wouldn't suggest starting out with them is they're just expensive. Usually each arrow costs around $10 and you're looking at $90 to $130 just for shafts to get into carbons. Alright, so the next subject is going to be glove versus tab. This is an extremely personal choice, just like all of traditional archery really, but basically a glove covers your whole hand of this nature. Now there's different styles, some don't cover this part of the hand and some literally are just your fingertips. But it's a great option, usually provides a little bit more protection, but a little bit less feel of the string. And then your other option is a tab. This is one that attaches with an elastic band on the back of your middle finger. And this is what I shoot personally. It's giving me a little bit smoother of a release, but ultimately it's your choice as far as which one you go with. Alright, so now we're just into the miscellaneous. For instance, arm guards. Good starting place is just to have a basic arm guard. Personally, I don't use one because I don't hit the arm, or I don't hit my arm, but if you just wear a long sleeve, that works also. Something that's nice to have, but you don't need when you're first starting, is a quiver. There's back quivers, hip quivers. All of my bows usually have a bow quiver on them, which keeps your arrows right on your bow. But as far as that goes, it's not needed, but it is nice. Couple things I'm going to go over should come with the bow. I would hope that you end up buying. But if not, you got to make sure you have a nocking point of some kind and shelf and plate material. Like I said, they should come with your bow and it shouldn't be an issue one way or another, but it's just something to be aware of. So I hope that's a good in-depth look as far as what you'll need when you first get started. Next week's video is going to be setting up your bow when you first get it. Everything from setting your nocking point, getting your strike plate and rest on, and setting your brace height. It's just going to cover everything that goes along with first getting your bow. So everybody, I hope you liked the first video in the series. If I missed anything, like I said, leave a comment below if you liked it. Hit the like button. Obviously, I hope you subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you have any ideas or things you would like to see in this series, leave a comment. Thank you for watching.